Okay, so I am Rachel Napoli, and I am the coordinator of the Transition to Practice program. I'm a faculty here in the nursing department. Some of you guys know me because I have taught you before, right? So, and I'm with Dr. Michelle Kelly, who also teaches here, and she's been some of your teachers as well. So she mostly teaches in post-licensure. So I am here to go nuts and bolts about what this program is all about, how it's run, and answer all your questions. The point of today mainly is to give you guys a rundown of how to apply, how the program is run, interviewing, all that good stuff, and then answer all your questions. Okay, so I try not to talk too much and get all the questions answered because I know a lot of you have the same questions, okay? So welcome, thank you for coming. It's a good group. I don't know how many we have on Zoom right now, but it's good. We, last year we took 44 into this program. There were a couple more slots. I'm going to talk about kind of a couple of the things that happened last year that we're trying to fix this year so that we could maybe have a couple more slots than we did last year. Every single person who completed the program was hired into their position. Okay, so the goal of the program is to get you hired into that position. And that has been how this will be our 8th cycle, 8th or 9th cycle. I think last year was our 7th, so this is our 8th cycle doing this. Have you guys looked through the website a little bit? Most of the information is on the website except for the application, which doesn't open until April 1st. Okay, and the application will open on April 1st and it will close on May 1st. It's only open for a month. There is no preferential treatment for those that get their applications in on April 1st or for those who put their application in on May 1st. Okay, there is obviously a time period between when applications close and when the program actually starts. And all the hospitals interview in their own way, and they've set up their own interviews. So, and they have that time period to then subsequently interview, make selections before our orientation, which is on June 6th this year, and that's mandatory in person. It's already booked in Schultz 3001 on that day. And you have to be there, and then you start in the hospital the following week. Okay? So the way this program works is that it is pretty much almost like an extended preceptorship into a job. Okay, it's 280 hours. It runs through the whole summer. The last day is, I think, August 18th this year, 17th, sorry, June 11th. It was 18th last year. So the last day, you have to be done with your hours on August 17th, no exception. That is the end of the summer semester. You are no longer then a student, so you have to be done with your hours. There's no exceptions, okay? And I always get a couple at the end who are trying to get it done. You have to have them done by the 17th, okay? That we keep it until the very last day of the summer session to allow you to get them done, but that's the very last day. Fall semester starts the following week. Okay, so we have to have everything completed so that I can put in for all your CEUs before the session ends and fall starts, okay? Okay, so 280 clinical hours, which will equate to 28 CEUs, and you'll get a certificate. No, I don't want to leave the meeting. Okay, there will be a class on Moodle, and there will be weekly readings with quizzes. Okay, It's not too difficult, okay? It is all about stuff that you will be doing while you're doing your preceptorships with your nurses. So it's all about things, leadership, a lot of our core fundamentals here at Sonoma State: leadership, collaboration, communication, critical thinking, all those kind of things that you have to know as nurses anyway. Okay, and it's just articles with, some of them are 10-point, 5-point quizzes. You have to do all the quizzes to get credit for this in the end. So while it's not the primary, while your hours and working with your nurse is the primary, it is a class. So it's a supplemental Moodle course. It's not too difficult. You just have to read it and get the quizzes done. Okay, so whatever you got to do to get your quizzes done, set yourself an alarm, whatever you got to do. You do have to complete all the quizzes to get the CEUs in the end. Okay? And we'll go through Moodle and the course and everything if you get accepted into it at the orientation. That's kind of what the orientation is about. Okay? So who can apply? Probably you guys already know if you can apply, because then you're here today, right? So the impetus for this was that we didn't have a whole lot of RN residency programs. So this is kind of a educational residency program. While some hospitals are starting to get a little bit more on board and starting their own residency programs, which is why we've had hospitals come in and come out and so on and so forth. We still have hospitals that don't have their own internal residency programs and that are participating in this. And some of them are doing both, okay? Right now, the plan, and I don't have a hard and fast numbers about who they're all taking, but right now, we are planning on all the hospitals that participated last year participating, which is Santa Rosa Memorial, Petaluma Valley Hospital, Kaiser Santa Rosa, Kaiser Vallejo. No, I lied. Kaiser San Rafael. That's who participated last year. I contacted them. Both Kaisers. Kaiser Santa Rosa and Kaiser San Rafael both participated last year, and that's the plan this year. And Marin General. And Healdsburg participated last year, and I think that they will still take people that last year was their first year participating. The other thing that one agency has reached out, and I will be contacting them, but I kind of wanted to wait until this day because I wanted to make sure that there would be some interest, because I don't want to put a facility up for the program and then have nobody apply to it. Okay, because you are the ones who are applying to the hospitals and the units that you want to work in. And so if we put a hospital on there who would like to take students and then nobody applies for it, then, you know, the relationship with the facility, you know, doesn't really work, and then they don't want to participate in the future, even if there are students who maybe want. Aurora Behavioral Health has reached out to me during one of our committees that they would be interested in taking on, I'm not sure how many, and I will contact them, but I kind of wanted to find out whether there was an interest. There's a need. Definitely, there is a need. But sometimes that doesn't always equate to an interest in the area or whether people. So think about that, but I would like to know if there's some interest by the end of the session so that I can then subsequently contact them and see if they would be interested in participating this year, knowing that there are those of you that would apply to it, okay? Queen of the Valley has participated before, but they will not be participating this year. They are working on their own internal Okay, so if anybody had questions about that. Okay, so the way the process works is on April 1st when the application opens, it's a very easy application. You will need a resume. Okay, so have that ready when you apply. And it's basically just demographic information, a little information about like where you did your senior preceptorships. And then you will attach your resume, and then you will put your first and your second choice for agency and first or second choice for unit. The majority, and again, I don't have the lockdown of what hospitals are accepting what units yet. That is kind of the liquidity of this program, is that some of the hospitals don't decide. And sometimes they make changes on the fly at the end. Sometimes they interview and they weren't potentially going to hire into an area, but they find a candidate that they think would be really good, and they end up taking an extra person. So sometimes the numbers change from day to day based on what happens. The majority of the slots last year were med-surg. Okay. There was some critical care. There were some ED, not as many. I would say that 65% were med-surg, okay, and then a little bit trickling of the other areas. Petaluma took labor and delivery last year. I don't know if they will do that again this year. Sometimes Marin has taken maternal child or OB. They didn't last year, but they have before. But usually it's like one slot, maybe two. Okay, so it's not a ton of the positions. Okay, sometimes they have. Sometimes Marin does like their cardiac unit. Okay, but it's really about the need in the hospital at this time of the year, right? So the nurse managers get together with the educator. That's who's usually my point person for this program, is the educator, but it's the nurse managers who are making the decisions about what they need in their specific departments. And then they say, we'll take this, or we'll take one here, or so on and so forth. Okay, and then they get together, and then they all usually interview together. Like they do interviewing all on one day, and all the nurse managers are there, and they all just set you up to interview back to back, and then they make their decisions. That's kind of how it's worked in the past, but don't quote me on that because I'm not on that end. Okay, I have no, that's why they call me the coordinator, because I don't hire you. Okay, we coordinate this through Extended Ed. So all your applications get coordinated through Extended Ed. And then based on the facility that you've chosen, we just basically every week for the 4 weeks, we group them all together at the end of the week and we send them out. Next week, group them all together, send them out. Next week, group them all together, send them out. Okay, and then they get them all, and then they set up read through all them, and they set up their interviews, and they call you in. And then they send me who they've accepted. But they're the ones who usually contact you, and then they send the information to me so that we can get you set up as a student in Extended Ed and get you all the login that you need for Moodle and library and all that good stuff. And then I can get you started on doing Castle Branch. Okay? And we'll talk about who has done Castle Branch. Okay, there's a good number. Okay. That's background, drug screens, all that good stuff. So we'll talk about that. Okay, so that's kind of how it works when you submit your applications. Okay, final decisions. And last year, it's not totally a hard and fast date. That's kind of the date that I tell the facility, because we only have so much time once they've chosen their candidates for me to get you started on Castle Branch and for you to get a cleared background check and a drug screen for you to be started on June. See, I like to walk. Stay behind the podium, not a podium. So that you can start in the hospital on June 11th. Okay, and it just, if you've done a background and a drug screen and all that. And you have to submit all your immunizations and everything. And so, and I have to go in there and verify that they're all clear. And then I have to send the hospital basically a clearance roster saying you are all now good to go and start. Okay, so while we were a little bit around May 18th on that day, that's the day I like everything to be done so that you can get your Castle Branch paid and started and get all that going so there's not an issue with you starting. Okay? Okay. So, once you get we would like to have you at our facility call from the educator or nurse manager. I'm not exactly sure who does the calling, but you have 72 hours and they will send me, once they make all the initial calls, they will send me an email of, we have chosen these students into our facility. Okay, so I'll get the roster of who they've accepted once they call you and say, we would like to take you into T2P, what we call it. Okay, so within 72 hours, you need to pay your registration fee and put your money and pay Castle Branch, because once you pay your money and everything for Castle Branch, that gets your background check started. And they will then subsequently send you information on your drug screen and going to get your drug screen. And then you will have started a file in order to submit all your immunizations too. Okay? The registration fee and Castle Branch are non-refundable. Okay? There was a little bit of leeway between acceptance and registration in the past, and we can't do that anymore. We lost spots that I'm sure those that applied and didn't get accepted would have taken if another person decided to drop out. But because there was so much time period between acceptance and registration, there was not enough time for a Castle Branch to be done. So we could not fill that slot. Okay, and the hospital lost that position, basically. They were gonna have to post that position. So we have to get you registered so that we are in, so that we can get you going on Castle Branch, so that we can get you cleared. Okay, so basically what it boils down to is you have to make the decision if you are going to interview for this, that you have to be ready to accept a position, okay? Or do not accept an interview with the facility, okay? So I know that there's a lot of decisions to make at this point about where you're gonna go with your job and your career and all that, but at some point you have to make a decision about what you're gonna do. Okay, and we don't want to lose spots that we could give to somebody else. Okay, so the hospitals will have an alternate list. And once they send me the roster, they know that if I don't have registration on the third day, you will get an email CC'd with the facility that you will be dropped and that they're going to take their next candidate on the list. Okay? June 6th, you have some.
Castle Branch, a common question that comes up.
Yes, thank you.
I already have a Castle Branch account.
Yes, you might. You have to have a new one for this one. Unless you just did it for Kanickum. So when did they?
These guys would have done it last summer, so it'll be a whole.
It'll be a whole new.
Yeah.
Oh, that won't work. Yeah.
So
It was
they
closer in time last year, wasn't
Anyway, the accounts cannot be transferred.
No, they cannot be transferred. There's too much confidential information. They cannot be transferred. And you can't use like if you've had a background check done somewhere else, you can't submit that one either. Or if you've had a drug, you have to do it all over again. I know. This is the life of a nurse. I just paid $300 to renew my license, and I have to pay that every 2 years. It's a pain. Yeah, say that.
On the website, it says final decisions and acceptance will be made by May 18th. Is that the same day we'll be hearing back, or?
Like I said, that is the date I like, because that gives me enough time, usually for Castle Branch, to go through if you've paid within 3 days of that. But the hospitals sometimes don't get done with their interviewing. So it's 3 days from when you hear from the facility, and they will send me an email the day that they have notified their candidates. Okay?
Repeat the question for the audience.
Got it. Shahid.
April 1st to May 1st is the application period.
Yes.
So when can we expect interviews after? Is it like after May 1st, between that and May 18th?
It depends on the facility.
But there won't be any before May 1st? Or?
There may be. It depends on how they set up their interviews. But they won't make decisions until the applications are closed.
The listeners aren't able to hear questions, so they really have to be.
So what he's wanting to know is, will there be interviews before May 1st? And yes, there may be interviews before May 1st. They will not make selections until after May 1st. Okay? So it depends on how many applications they get and how many they want to interview and how many spots they have to fill. So they may start interviewing. It doesn't happen. I don't know how many interviews actually happened before that time period last year, but they may break it up a little bit, and that may be during the application period. But they will not be decisions made until all applications have been submitted to the facility and closed. And they know these dates.
So even if we submit like April 25th, we're not going to necessarily be like crossed off of certain facilities list for interviews because they've already interviewed people that filled out their application April 5th.
Yep.
Repeat the question.
I have to now rephrase it. If she submits her application on April 25th, which is close to the closing date, she won't be knocked off that facility's interview list just because it's later on in the period. No, because they will continue to interview. Yeah. Another question?
So there's also a chance you could submit your application and never get a call for an interview too, right? We're not guaranteed interviews.
No.
Okay.
And the question was, you can apply and never hear anything. Correct. So they decide how many they're going to interview, but they will get all the applications. And then it's their decision, just like when you submit to a hospital, right? You can submit 1 billion applications and you may never hear anything from 97% of them, right? That's not very positive, was it?
So I'm going to ask
I'm a nurse, I know.
the Zoom viewers, please function of raise your hand, and we will click and make sure your audio is up. So there's a function that you can raise your hand, and you can also chat and type in a question. Okay, so our online Zoom listeners and watchers, raise your hand or type in a question. Amy raised her hand, and so I am.
We're going to answer all the questions, okay? I'm not going. I have food in the crock pot for my family, so.
Amy, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. with our resumes that we're attaching to these applications, should we be attaching letters of recommendation also?
No.
Okay.
Should you attach letters of recommendation? No. They don't want them. I'm not very positive today.
No, it's just being clear. It's
They
just being clear.
yeah.
Great
They
question, Amy.
They
Great
just
question.
want the resume, and they mainly are looking, the point of this program is that they know that you're new grads, right? So the majority of the recommendations that they're going to get are from faculty who we rave about you, right? Because we think you're all great, right? And you don't have a lot of job experience, but that's okay, right? They know that. They've participated in this program before.
Is it helpful, Dr. Napoli, to write references on your CV?
I don't think they ask for that.
Okay.
And if they want references, they will ask for those when they interview you, if they would like to check references. Okay. But
Great.
the application doesn't ask for that. If you have them on your resume already, that's okay. You don't have to delete them.
Great question, Amy.
Yeah.
The hospital, the only one that you mentioned so far, are the hospitals.
Repeat the
Yes.
question.
He's wondering if there are other hospitals that may participate. And yes, that is a possibility. I always send emails out to a handful of other facilities. Like I always reach out to more of the Kaisers, since we usually have 2 and they're familiar with the program, and a lot of times the educators overlap sometimes. So I reach out. Healdsburg jumped in at the last minute last year, so that was an add-on, and they ended up taking 7. So that was a big number that we weren't anticipating. That was 7 more people that I could take, which was really good, and they took into all areas. They took even into a non-acute care area, if anybody was interested in that. So, but they took into ED, critical care, med surge, so there was a lot.
There was a question
Yeah.
on that side.
Yes.
Will Kaiser accept students that don't have BSN for the SRJC?
Kaiser will. Marin is the only one that will you have to be an RN.
BSN. The question was, will Kaiser,
80 under.
Oh, got it. I'm sorry.
let's
sorry.
repeat the question. Does Kaiser accept ADNs
Yes.
or is it only BSNs? And the answer is?
They have never told me that they're only accepting BSNs. They have never said that as a criteria to me. Yes.
2 quick questions. One is, I'm not totally familiar with all these hospitals, but they all sound like the highest level of trauma acuity is level 2. Correct? There's no level 1.
Let's repeat the question. Are all these hospitals a higher acuity level 2 is first part of your question.
And the other one is just a Castle Branch and Connecticut thing.
Okay.
Do the Castle Branch with this, or do I have to repeat the Castle Branch for the Connecticut in August?
Okay, let's answer the first question first about level 2.
I don't think any of them are level 1s. I don't think so.
So Castle Branch for the Kinnicum, as we said, it's a whole new Castle Branch account.
So when in August, when it's due for the Connecticut, I'll probably have to repeat the one that I did in May for this. Okay.
You will have to repeat Castle Branch.
You will have to repeat Castle
You're-
Branch no matter what
Kinnicum.
program track you are at
Yeah.
Sonoma State. You got a question over here?
Yeah,
For
no.
general, it says that you need to have your RN license. Is that by the time that you start
Yes.
the application, or
Let's
is it
repeat
August, so August,
Yes.
not like in June?
So, I got it. So she asked for Marin General, do you have to have your license by the start date, which is June 11th, or by August? You have to have it by the start date of June 11th.
Then we have
Same question.
What about an interim permit?
You guys, the background noise for the Zoom people is difficult. For all the other facilities, an interim permit is acceptable. Marin General is an exception. Yes, Natalie.
Sorry, is that something that we can negotiate with her in general, or is that like a set thing that we have to have it by June 11th? or 6.
Repeat the question.
Is that something that she can negotiate with Marin General? To my knowledge, that is non-negotiable, but I can send their educator a letter and confirm. But from last year, every person that they hired into this program had an RN license.
I'm just worried that because I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to get our ATT on time and then be able to apply for to get an NCLEX on
You
time.
might have to apply to one of the other facilities if that is not the rule, because the other hospitals will accept an interim permit.
So Amy online.
But there is a
question?
deadline. Let me finish with the interim permit, because that is a question. When you fill out your application, you have to pay for the interim permit for this program. You cannot be in this program without an interim permit. You are no longer a student in your nursing program. And so in order to legally work with a nurse in the hospital in this program, you have to have an interim permit. And if that does not get issued in time, you will not be able to start this program. There is a little bit of leniency in the very beginning of the program to get that, because sometimes there are issues, but once you start patient care, you have to have an interim permit. Okay? Legally, for you, for the university, and for the hospital, it is a huge liability, and you do not want that on a brand new license. Okay? This is Board of Nursing regulations. Okay? So we don't mess with the Board of Nursing.
So
Okay.
Amy online has a
Yes.
question when you're ready. I'm sorry.
Yes. Amy, we're ready.
I was just wondering if you could address the question in the chat. It's along the same lines as the interim permit for the SRJC students who graduated May 26th.
So repeat the question, Amy. I don't see it in the chat.
From Chelsea, there's a question that says SRJC doesn't graduate until May 26th, and we won't have our IP until mid-June, I am guessing. How does this work? Which is kind of what she was just talking about.
Well, like I said, there's a little bit of leniency in the first couple weeks because the majority of the facilities do classroom kind of orientation stuff the first couple weeks. So we can't, there's a little bit of give as of June 11th. But when you start to do patient care, we need you to have an IP.
Okay, there's another online question, which is, what if I have one general class, I'm assuming it's GE, left to complete? I plan to take the class over the summer. They wouldn't be getting their IP.
If you don't have an IP, you can't be in this program.
And if you have courses left, whether they're GE or in your nursing major, to complete in the summer, you would not be able to get an IP.
If they're not able to do their Board of Nursing application and get an IP, you can't be in this program.
We have another question. What hospitals last year had L&D positions?
The only ones last year, and again, like I said, this could change. Petaluma Valley was the only one who took labor and delivery last year. Marin was going to take someone into OB. I'm not sure if that was actually labor and delivery. They just said OB. But then in the end, they didn't need to fill that position. So
the next question is, I didn't hear if you said Kaiser and Sutter are participating this year or not. I was told they aren't due to starting their own residency programs.
So as far as I know, Kaiser Santa Rosa and Kaiser San Rafael will be participating.
Sutter. And
Sutter is not participating. They have not for a handful of years because they've been doing their internal residency program.